Hello. I am so hoping you can see my slides, but I'm not sure that they're over here. If they don't show up, I will repost. Let me start us on Instagram. We're doing this as kind of a connected in a different way. So for those of you on Instagram and on the Facebook group, ooh, it's looking a little dark on Instagram, but we'll make it work. And we'll go from there. I was hoping to be able to post slides from StreamYard, but you know what? We don't always win. So let me see if I can connect that over here. I don't think so. All right. While we're waiting for people, we're talking about stop hiding, start healing. And I'm going to tell you a little bit more about who I am in just a minute, but I have a really funny slide for you if I could actually get that up. And you don't always win when you're doing these things. Okay. I'm on the dashboard settings. Can I show you the slide? All right. If you really want to see the slides, you need to pop out to the profile, to TanyaJoya.com on the profile or on YouTube, which is Addiction Recovery as well. So let's get started here. And I wish it was showing, but I don't think it is. All right. So I have this cute little tent that says done adulting. And when we are dealing with someone who is suffering from addiction, oftentimes we have to be the super adult in the situation. And that is never anybody's plan, right? Never anybody's plan to be the super adult. So I have this cute little tent, and years ago it came out with this little tent that says, "Hey, done adulting for today. I am getting my crayons, my Kool-Aid, and my popsicle, and I'm going in my tent." That's some of what we talk about when we talk about the Grace and Recovery program. So as we're talking about that, done adulting. When I talk to women who are supporting loved ones with addictions, they are exhausted, they're overwhelmed, they're tired, they don't know what to do. They are often afraid of what they could do or what they might do. It is something that just scares them. And then they're showing up as people they don't like. They're angry, they're nagging, they're worrying people, they have anxiety around what's going to happen. When is the other shoe going to fall? Are they going to be walking on eggshells the rest of their life? And they are hiding because it is so hard and shameful to get help. And here's the piece of it that I really want to talk about is I was just talking with a wonderful person who got sober himself, Duncan Baskarath Brown. And what he talked about was 38% of the males in the UK have a drinking problem, right? But if 38% of the males in the UK were not showing up for work, the country would stop running. The country would be completely gone, right? 70% of the people in our surrounding areas have some kind of addiction issue, and they still look like this, right? They're still showing up for work. They're still doing what they need to do around the family. In fact, my mom had a friend who she's like, my husband taught Sunday school. He ran the youth group. He did all of these things while nurturing a pretty heavy addiction problem. And this could be addiction to phones, addiction to pornography, addiction to substance. Here's the key. If one person is struggling with addiction, intimately affecting 5 other people. And one of those people is probably you. And the issue around it, even though so many celebrities have come out, all kinds of people have come out. Russell Brand is one of my favorite that I follow, amazing, intelligent man. We're still not able to talk about what's going on in our families. And here's one of the keys is our husbands, our wives may still look just like this, may show up at work every day, may do all those things. What we don't see is the anger, the fear, the anxiety, the sleeping all weekend, the acting irrationally with the alcohol until it begins to degenerate. And that's what we know about any addiction: pornography, alcohol, phone, substance, all kinds of substance abuse disorders. It will degenerate. It will get worse because what you're taking in won't keep you at the same level that you want to be kept at. It will still happen. So if the person we were talking about looked like, let me paint this for you, looked like somebody in raggedy clothes who doesn't have a place to sleep, who's slurring their words, or who can't hold a job, we know what to do, right? It's all out in the open. It's all aware. And then we can't hide anymore. We can't hide. We've got to do something about it. And it is something that, we've got to take care of. But until that happens, we can spend a lot of time hiding. And I didn't really tell you who I was. That's where I was I was stuck looking for help, but I didn't even know where to look for help. I didn't even know who to talk to, and I was ashamed. I was so ashamed to look for help because we still basically look like this. We still basically look like this. Now, we didn't have phones at that point in time, and this, you could look at this as phone addiction. Nobody pays attention to me because they're constantly looking at their phone, but we still basically looked okay. And in our responses to life, now, when people talk about responses to life, they talk about fight, and freeze. That's normally it. So fight is I'm going to fight it out, and I have a lot of that in me. Flight is I'm going to run away, which is a lot of what a lot of people do when they're dealing with addiction because they don't have the tools. They don't know what to do. They don't know how to use person positive language. They don't know how to love their person and set boundaries. So as we're doing the new studies, which is really great, we're learning how to use person positive language. We're learning how to set clear boundaries, and we're learning to do self-care. Now, there's been some pushback about self-care, but let's be realistic about it. Self-care isn't pedicures and massages. Is making sure that you're eating, you're sleeping, you're breathing, you're doing your exercise, because here is what a wise woman once told me. Tanya, if you go down, the whole ship goes down. Not in the same way as I need to take care of everything and I need to fix everybody. So let's talk about fixing. I'd heard of fight, flight, or freeze, right? Become the fixer, then I have a role in the family. If I am the person who takes care of the bills, takes care of the houses, gets the children where they need to go, make sure that I get to work, make sure that he gets to work, I am the fixer. I have a job, and I may get my value from that job, even though, as I told you, most of the women that I work with come tired, exhausted, fed up, and overwhelmed. They are at the point of complete collapse. And why are they at the point of complete collapse? Because their whole focus is on this one person. So they are the person taking care of one person. And when you are the person completely taking care of this one person, because they are stuck in an addiction cycle, you become exhausted to the point that you don't even see these other people. See that there's help out there. This is this run, and I was really focused on having that family dream of having 2 children, of having a house, of having a life where we spent time together. We went camping and had a fun time, and we had dinners together. Dinners have been a hookup for me for all my life. It's just a matter of that's a super huge trigger when I can't have dinner with my family because that's the fun time. That's the time that I want to be together. So I would fix anything for that. So let me read you some scenarios about women fixing their families so that they can feel all right. Lauren sat, head bowed, sniffling. I wanted so much for him to quit gaming and ignoring me and the baby. And then when he stopped, suddenly I have a new baby on my hands. It is almost like having two babies now. He needs me all the time. He just wants to be next to me, be with me, holding my hand. I thought I wanted this kind of attention, and now I'm not sure. So when you leave that disconnected part of the relationship where they're not paying that much attention to you, where they're totally fixated on their drug of choice, which could be anything, suddenly they're attached to you. What do you do then? And then Beth says, we used to have so much fun together. Now we just sit at home. I think he's afraid if he goes out, he will use some kind of substance. We don't see any of our friends anymore. For most of them, that is fine. I didn't really care for him, she says. But there were a few, or at least their wives, that I really liked. And now now I know this is for the best, but right now I'm sitting on the couch. So when we lose our job as the fixer and they begin to get well, or they begin to choose something different, we have lost who we were, lost what we liked, what we didn't like. Knowing the person that we were may be lost. And then let me read you this one from Sandra. Sandra says, I ran everything for so long and I was tired. Again, women to be tired, exhausted. They've been running everything for so long. They just want out, but they're afraid to turn it over because the last time they did, credit cards didn't get paid or mortgage didn't get paid, or they're afraid that if they stop working and actually have a little time to themselves or slow down on working, that, they won't be able to do the things they want to do in their life, and they'll have to face what they've been hiding from, which is their partner is not carrying his weight. So Sandra says, I've been running everything for so long, I was tired. Now he wants to start making decisions and taking charge of finances. Should I trust him? The last time we almost went bankrupt. So all of these are fear responses. And if you're a fixer, you have this image of beautiful life and you're going to make it happen. In fact, for me, I was going to do it harder, faster, or better than anybody. I took on so much. I was not really living my life. I was living the magazine of having that family, which brought me no joy. So if you're a fixer and what you think is if he would just stop drinking, gambling, gaming, looking at porn, we would all be okay. That is not the truth. There is so much going on in this situation that you have to begin to look at yourself. And that's where I want to turn this back around to. Are you fixing so that you can feel better, so that they just stop the addiction, then life would be this beautiful picture? I wish that were true. It is not that simple, unfortunately. It is not that simple. Plus the fact that if you have been on this fixing train, that you are the fixer, that is your job, and then suddenly that person changes, I can bet you're not going to know who they are, and you may not like them. So there's a lot of work you have to do if this is your main job, taking care of that person. There's a wide world out there. You may have given up things you like. You may not even know what you like or dislike anymore because you have spent all your time focused on the person who is suffering from addiction. So let's do a different way to look at this. So prodependence. Prodependence is a new terminology that has come out that looks at what it is that I can do to give to myself and give to the other people in my life, but not in an unhealthy way to where I lose myself, to where I begin to live the life of the other person, that they are stuck in an addictive cycle, and I have become the caregiver. I have begun to enable. I have begun to make sure they're okay, because if they're not okay, then I'm not okay. So then it becomes my job to do the things that make them okay so that I can be all right, which leaves you, as we started out, wanting to crawl in that tent with your popsicle and your coloring book and just hide away. So, prodependence is looking at how you can take your life back, and each person functions in their own life. I know you probably understand codependence a little bit more. Codependence says to the person suffering the addiction, you're not capable. If you continue to run your life, then I will become unhappy. So even though you are an adult, that's why I have this little graphic. If you want to see this, it's on Facebook and YouTube. I have this little graphic where you've got this big person and this little person. Now, running the life of someone else will never make you happy. We have given over our power to them, because if they're not happy, then we're not happy. And that's where we become mentally fixated on that person. So when you are looking at that, here is what is beginning. I was trying so hard to fix my husband so that I could feel better. Now, biblically, this is a stronghold. This is taking something that should be a bond, that should be something that brings us together, a marriage. We're not marrying somebody who is broken and another person who is broken so that we can fix each other. God is who transforms us. When we begin to believe that what we do is be that other person's savior, we are in the wrong place. When two healthy, secure people get together, then they build something new. When two people who are hurting, who are really struggling get together, then they are not becoming one flesh. They're becoming one enmeshed, hurting unit that they're trying to save each other rather than looking to God to help them transform. The other piece that begins to happen is we begin to rent them all kinds of space in our head. We become in bondage to that person and addiction's well-being. So the person who's suffering from addiction is chasing the addiction. The person who is trying to support or fix them is chasing them. And we get snared and consumed by fixing their lives. So again, we don't know which direction we're actually going in because we've been so consumed by their lives themselves. And then what happens? Then they become somebody to blame. So we would go back to where I was talking about in the beginning. If they would just, if they will get better, then I will be okay. That means it's kind of like when you sweep, you have company coming over and you don't have time to clean the house and you put everything in the bathtub in the master bathroom, because even if they looked in there, it wouldn't be polite to tell you that they looked in there. So you could just dump everything in there, right? So now we're taking all of our problems, all of our issues, saying, well, I would have had a promotion, or the kids would have turned out better, or we would have had a better house if the addiction wasn't happening. Well, guess what? You have influence. You are not powerless. You have a lot more influence than you think. Now, can you take away their addiction? No, you didn't cause it. You can't control it. You can't cure it. But you do have influence about how it plays out because you are a separate person. Even God tells us that we become one flesh, but he didn't make us that we suddenly are in the same body. We have a responsibility to ourselves to be healthy. And one of the phrases that I teach the women that I work with when they start to get healthy and their spouses start to question it, I teach them to say, "Hey, I'm getting healthy. You will too." We're not doing this against anybody. In fact, we're becoming nicer people. We're becoming person positive people. We're becoming people who say, "I really want to spend time with you. I do have a boundary that if you show up drunk or if you're going to use the phone at the table, I'm not going to have dinner with you, but I would love to have dinner with you if that's not the behavior you're going to show up with." So we're rewarding the positive and stepping away from the negative. Now, I want to tell you in these last few minutes just a little bit more about me. I'm a Harvard trained theologian. I have an international Federation certificate. I'm also craft trained, which is person positive in working with families around addiction. And I have completed my invitation to change. So I have all the letters. You can begin to make alphabet soup after the letters as far as that's concerned. But the real truth is I have experienced this myself. And it's in some blogs and some other places. I won't go through the whole thing. But until you understand inside your skin what it's like to show up at your house with 5 cop cars surrounding it, your baby inside, your husband inside, to walk in to that scenario, and it's like everybody's having tea time. Everything is fine. Now, I had reached out for help. I had gone to the sheriff and said, "Hey, he's growing pot plants on our land. I don't know what to do about that. I have babies. I have all of that." I didn't know they were going to do a wellness check. So I walked in and everybody was having a calm conversation. I wasn't going to get help there. There was nothing they could legally do to change my situation. They said, "Ma'am, are you being abused?" Not in that sense. "Ma'am, are you being restrained? Ma'am, are you being financially abused?" No, none of those things. My husband's a good man. He was suffering from addiction. So when you start seeking help in the wrong places, you get discouraged. You begin to feel even more rejected. You begin to feel like there isn't any place that you can find change. And change is scary. Change takes courage. So as we bring this to a close, one of the things I want to talk to you about is not only do you need someone to work with who can help you through the process, because it's not a simple process. And as we talked about a little bit earlier, when that person does decide to change, you may not be ready. That's when we notice, at least in the United States, that marriages fail, is when that person gets sober and you turn around, just like Sandra said, "Look, I've been making all the decisions. Why do you suddenly get to make decisions? Why is it important for you to do?" No, that's not fair. So in looking at this, you are not alone. Like I said, every person who suffers from addiction has at least 5 other people they intimately affect. You are so far from alone, but most of us were hiding. I didn't even tell my parents until I had to. Until Courts, Cops, and Chickens. And you can read about more on my site about that. The courage you need is down deep inside you. The courage to change is there. And I want to invite you to the Grace and Recovery Framework, where you can look at who you are, where you can look at what you like and dislike. How do you want to show up? How do you want to contribute in a way that is positive, not negative? We're going to look at purpose, because purpose is huge in this situation. Your purpose on this planet is not to save somebody else, because Christ says, "Come to me, my burden is light and my yoke easy. Purpose is not to solve their problem, but your purpose is to stop the nagging, whining, complaining, shooting guns off in the backyard. I do live in Colorado. To stop attacking it in a way that does not work. So I invite you to explore the Grace and Recovery Framework more. I invite you to DM me, let me know your questions, and let me know where you are. I would love to talk to you a little bit more. And let me tell you, I don't want the sheriff experience for anybody. I don't want the separation experience for anybody. But I also know freedom. Jesus says the truth will set you free. Freedom is not found in hiding. So thank you so much. And I look forward to seeing you and answering your questions.